your shirt and turning into a dog.
Be careful, Thomas.
And then what we have to do is cut the notes the right length.
Hello everyone and welcome to the 2024 IMDb Script to Screen Awards. My name's Jasmine, I'm the Film Bath Festival Director and we're so delighted to have you all this evening for a wonderful evening of awards. We're going to be shortly passing over to our host Anu, who will also be bringing up the judges as well, who all have a range of expertise. I just wanted to say a really big thank you for all the script writers who've come here this evening. We really like to champion and foster new talent. I'd also like to say thank you to IMDb, of course, and also to Visual Impact and GWR for their support with this. And over to Anu. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks so much, Jasmine. Welcome to everyone. This is such a great time of year. Come on up, guys. I'll let you come and let the judges come up and settle in while I introduce myself. I don't really have a film background, which is why it's such a joy to come and do this. I'm a journalist, and I've covered international news for most of my career. But I got involved during the pandemic with the F-Rated podcast. The F-Rating, if you don't know, is the feminist rating. It's really connected to the Bath Film Festival. It really drives how the festival chooses its films. And the F-Rating is just the most wonderful thing. I was saying to the judges earlier that I've seen more great films, through the Film Bath Festival and the F-Rating than I have probably over the last decade. So that's how I got involved. But let me introduce, more importantly, our judges for tonight, because they're going to be deciding which of the 5 final scripts wins a £7,000 award, cash award, along with £1,000 worth of kit hire, and of course, an IMDb badge, which only employees get to wear. So it's a very special thing indeed. Excellent. So you join that very, very exclusive group of people. Right, so just before I introduce the judges, just to give you a quick little upsum of what we're going to do. We're going to talk to our judges, kind of get to know what it is they're looking for. We'll then have Bath Spa University's drama students come up and they're going to perform all 5 of the finalist scripts. The judges will then go away for a short interval to bash out who they think should win the prize. But please don't forget that you can also vote. You've got slips on your tables, and so as you go along and hear the different scripts, please do jot down which you think should win. And if the judges are tied, that audience vote will be the tiebreaker. So keep an eye out for that. Let me introduce our judges. Cole Needham, right here to my left, is founder and CEO of IMDb, the world's most popular and authoritative source for information on movies, TV shows, and celebrities. And I'm sure a lot of you have already heard this, but IMDb started off as your teenage passion project, did it not, Cole?
That's correct. Yeah, be aware of what you write down in the diary when you're a teenager, because it could turn into something bigger than you could ever think.
Yeah. And next to Paul is Lauren Baker. Lauren works for the global streaming platform, a production company, and the film distributor Mubi as the senior MubiGo manager. And Lauren, so you basically decide what cinema ticket, if people sign up to MubiGo, what free cinema ticket they get every single week. That's got to be a fun job.
Yeah, exactly. So you can love me or hate me on a weekly basis. I try and cater to all tastes and, lots of different films. So, yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy your TV screen that is on this platform.
Indeed, yeah. Next to Lauren is Nadia Attia. Nadia comes from a working class background. She has Egyptian-German heritage, not complicated at all, is a BFI Network talent executive and author. Hold up, your debut novel, Nadia.
Yeah, the book's out now. It's called Verge. It's a folk horror sort of road trip story, and it will be in bookstores.
Yes. And there is a dead body on page 1, which I always think is a really good omen if you open a new book. Nadia has also, she's also a freelance script editor and a story consultant. And in 2019, she was selected for the London Writers' Award and won the the Faber Prize for Fiction. So welcome, Nadia. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And next to Nadia is Paul Holbrook. He's a multi-award-winning writer, director, and filmmaker. Paul is proudly working class. He was born and bred on a rough council estate. Is that how, am I supposed to say that, Paul? Rough
It's pretty rough, yeah.
In the southwest of Bristol. Paul, you had a lot of jobs before you started being a screenwriter. You tried your hand at lots of different things. But he's also a self-taught director. His work has been selected for BAFTA and Oscar qualifying film festivals around the world. And in 2020, he was nominated for a London Critics Circle Award for his short film, Hungry Joe. Welcome.
Yeah, that's me. Thanks for having me.
So you guys eat, sleep, and breathe films. Okay, back there, they were doing their 10 out of 10 lists, maybe their 1 out of 10 lists, I'm not sure. I didn't overhear that bit. And Cole, you were saying to us yesterday, you're nearing 16,000 films watched over a lifetime, is that right?
Yeah. So since since I was a teenager, so since the 1st of January 1980, I turned the teenager on the 26th of January 1980, I've seen 15,935 unique films,
Right.
Full length, and that's unique films. So the film I've seen more than any other is James Cameron's Aliens, which I've seen 63 times.
And as Paul pointed out, how old are you?
I'm 57
There you
years.
go.
I'm 57 years old, which is as long as Ripley spent in hypersleep between Alien and Aliens. So this is now a milestone year for me, and I only discovered this chatting backstage.
So you have in this judge a prolific film watcher, is what I'm trying to say. Paul, Nadia, can I come to you next? Because, in terms of writing, whether it's film scripts or whether it's books, how important are your personal interests or your personal journey? Do you think, does it sort of play into when you write and when you connect with films? Do you think that that's still pretty important, or after a while, do you just you can relate to anything? How important is the personal background?
I think, and it's kind of tying into what you might touch on later, what we're looking for. I think I'm looking for authenticity in a voice. I know that sounds a bit nebulous, like what's a voice? But when you hear it, and a voice is kind of imprinted on that person through their experiences. So everything I've done, like I used to make short films as well. I've worked at a film school. I've worked in Curzon cinemas. I used to run Midnight Movies, which is a cult film night that we used to do at Curzon Soho and things like that. So throughout my life, I've been really interested in stories and storytelling. So I've written scripts and I've written, book and things like that. So I think all of my experiences and all my life experience through career and personal taste has kind of informed what I write and what I like and what my tastes are. So yeah, I'm just looking for like that amazing, original, authentic voice.
Paul, do you think we're tending to get more authentic and more representational films? Do you think, has that changed in the time that you've been doing it?
That's a big question.
Well, just from your point of view, not from an entire industry point of view, but do you feel like you're seeing more representative films now?
I think we're heading in the right direction. I think a lot of the industry is, and a lot of the kind of institutes that are funding films, things like this, and the BFI are looking for the right kind of stuff and are supporting the right kind of voices. Whether that's actually breaking through into the mainstream and commercial prospects is a different story. Yeah, I think the attitude towards it is changing. I mean, it's difficult in the UK, right? Because it's not always a commercial endeavour, especially when you're making indie films. It is about voice and it is about kind of unique perspective. And I suppose the challenge is matching that up with commercial prospects, and that's what I think the industry can probably do a bit better. Trusting the audience to feel something rather than telling them exactly what we should like.
Lauren, from your point of view, you must have to kind of do that a lot. It's kind of matching the commercial and the kind of authentic indie voice, the thing that's going to break through. Is that still quite hard? And if so, any kind of insight on why that's so hard? Because we seem to have more choice than ever.
Yeah, the amount of films that are out theatrically, especially since the pandemic, I'd say, like it's on it. There's sometimes 20 films released in 1 week. So in terms of like MovieGo and the programming side of things, like sometimes you'll get big like releases from Disney or Warner Brothers, but then we also try to match it up with like very small indie releases that like realistically you may not see otherwise. So something from Friday, we've got Dahomey, which is an amazing documentary that won the Golden Bear at the Berlinale, but it's about the repatriation of artifacts from Paris back to its homeland of Benin. So something like that is super important to kind of broaden horizons, I guess. And yeah, I would urge all of you to just do what Cole does and just watch as many films as absolutely possible. Try and, step outside your preferences, step outside your box. And I think hopefully that will be reflected in audiences across the UK when, they'll start to go and watch these films in the cinema, which is exactly what we want.
If I can interject, which is one of the great things about a film festival, isn't it? So well done, Jasmine and the programming team, because the selection here is amazing. And do not be, if you don't recognize the title, go see it anyway.
Yeah, totally. I was thinking about this actually today. Like, you guys were talking about, you were talking about the sheer numbers of films and going, well, if I remember it, that's a good thing. And the thing is, in my memory over the last few years, the films actually that are seared on my memory are not the commercial films. They are the ones that I saw last year. Is There Anybody Out There? It's a film by a woman called Ella Glendinning who is looking for, she has a genetic condition and she's looking for people like her. And I didn't know what I was walking into when I went into that film. I wonder if you guys would be willing to share, like, what are your absolute benchmarks? Like, what are the top 10 out of 10 in terms of storytelling? The films that just you will watch anytime.
I think Paul should go first.
Look, the best film ever made is Taxi Driver. It's that simple. It's and I'll hear no arguments. It's a unique character study, but that's not the thing that grabs you. It's the tone of that film. It gets under your skin and it just stays there. And that comes from Scorsese's kind of perspective on his own neighborhood, the people that inhabit that neighborhood, his opinions and instincts about the people and the goings-on of that neighborhood. And then all that is just kind of bubbling away inside the Robert De Niro character. And then the film just explodes from that point. And for me, that is a film that still to this day just feels entirely unique, despite seeing a million rip-offs of it ever since.
Anything else come close? Because, there's been a few decades.
Rocky IV. Rocky IV.
Taxi Driver.
Oops. For me, like touching on what you were saying about watching films at festivals and discovering a film, I was at LFF a few years ago and I watched Celine Sciamma's Portrait of a Lady on Fire. And I didn't know anything about the film. I just went in, I was like, oh, it looks pretty cool. It's quite slightly witchy, maybe. I like sort of supernatural things.
What's it about, Nadia, for those who don't know?
Well, there's this there's an artist who is employed to paint a portrait of a lady who is just about to get married, who doesn't really want to get married. So it's a period piece, period drama, but it's very atmospheric and it's quite slow paced, but it's beautifully done. To the point where I haven't seen it since because I'm too scared to ruin that first viewing experience because I absolutely loved it so much, and I was like, oh, I don't know, I'm too scared. I will watch it again, I know I will, but I was just like, it blew me away.
I don't know if you've seen it, but I have to suggest her follow-up film, Petite Maman. It's on Mubi, guys.
Of course it is.
But it was my favorite film the year it was released. I wasn't working for Mubi then, but it's 70 minutes, and it's about a young girl that goes to visit her grandma, and then she finds another little girl that looks identical to her, and you find out it's like her mother, in her past. Absolutely stunning. Sorry, I had to talk about it because it's just stunning.
Well, I have to talk about that as well because I'm looking around, and maybe Philip can correct me on this. I'm pretty sure I saw that at Film Bath.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a full circle, guys. It's full circle.
There you go. So the follow-up,
Well, and Lauren, you were talking earlier about, sometimes it is about how you feel when you go in to see a film. Are you in the mood for that? But, I mean, do you think should that be a consideration? I mean, do all of you kind of go in cold? Do you take into consideration how you feel? Do you try to be objective? How do you approach watching a film?
I'm a massive mood reader, mood watcher. I have to be in the right state of mind. I can kind of pull myself into that now. But it can really depend on the day. But I think something that's so wonderful about a film festival is it's been curated for you. These are going to be amazing films already, so you don't even have to go through that step of, it's pre-release as well, so it might not have an IMDb rating yet, for example. So you can't really deep dive in as much, and nothing can put you off. You're going with an absolute blank page. So yeah, film festivals are absolutely wonderful to find out your tastes and try new things and watch films in different languages. Go and watch a 6-hour film, if it's available. Those kind of things.
Paul, Nadia, let me kind of end with you really, because again, as people who are kind of doing the work of storytelling in your kind of day-to-day life, or looking at scripts and writing your own stories, Paul, what do you look for in a story? Nadia was saying authenticity of voice. For some people it's about the mood they're in, but fundamentally, what does a story need to have in it?
I mean, the joy of watching movies is that we don't quite know what the answer to that is, right? And we find it and we feel it as we're watching it. I think the best films, and the thing that I'm always striving to do is, of course, you're driven by your own perspective and your own kind of instincts, and that's kind of all we've got. But when you're watching a film on the other way, it's also trying to make sure that there's a way in for the audience, I think, and space for the audience to think and feel, rather than be heavy-handed about our themes or our political message, whatever that may be. As important as that stuff is, I still think you need to leave space for thoughts and feeling, and that's sometimes where I think films don't quite get it right, and that's the kind of magic bit I'm always
connection, basically.
An opportunity for connection, I don't like to be, my personal preference, I don't like to be told how to feel. When I'm watching a film, I like the space and the opportunity. I want to learn things. I want it to ask me questions about myself and my own perspective on the world, and all that stuff wrapped up. I want to have a good time as well and enjoy it and have fun. And that's the magic potion that we're all trying to find always.
I think following on from that, the nuance is really important. So, like you're saying, not beating someone over the head with it, but also having shades of light and dark, like characters that are three-dimensional. I know this is I'm rolling out all the cliched terms here, but they're kind of cliched for a reason. You want to feel that they're not just the good guy or the bad guy or whatever. There's all kinds of shades of morality or intent, and you kind of want to see that nuance in these stories, so that it's not so basic and like Paul was saying, you can bring your own interpretation to it, and maybe it's subverting your expectations. So you're thinking, oh, this is one thing, and then it flips, and it's just those surprises and that space and that nuance is stuff that really excites me.
It's subtlety and subtext, right? And understanding as a filmmaker or a writer that you are unique and that your voice and your perspective is unique. So therefore, you don't need to shout it from the rooftops, like it's already there. So if you can just kind of use that to guide you through making a film and empower you and motivate you whilst you're writing a story or making a film, and then boil all that down into subtlety and subtext, that's where you find the space for the audience.
Easy, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, that's easy. You take something really complex and make it relatable and nuanced. Yeah.
And what we have tonight is we're going to hear 5
Yep.
scripts performed.
Indeed.
And we don't know anything, so we're just going to
Yeah.
be taken away
and
on
it's
the
true.
journey.
None of us. I mean, you know, somebody has shortlisted these 5 scripts, but none of us have any clue what any of them are about. And the beautiful thing about these events is they really are stepping stones. You know, tonight these scripts have been written, they get to be performed, and hopefully next year we'll see them get made and then go into film festivals. So it's wonderful to see the genesis of this incredible creative process of filmmaking. I want to say thanks for the moment to Paul, Nadia, Lauren, and Cole. I'm going to let you put your microphones down, go and settle yourselves with your ice water and your clean notebooks and get ready to make notes on our scripts. We will hear from the 5 finalists after the interval. We decided it was a lot nicer to bring everyone up on stage together rather than grilling them one-to-one, which can be a little bit intimidating. So what we're going to do is we're going to have the Bath Spa University students come up in a moment and do each script for us. So we'll have a live read of each of those scripts. And please don't forget to vote, because that audience vote is an award in and of itself. And also, it can help break a tie if our judges get a little stuck. We never know. Never know. Sometimes they're wildly different, those 2 choices. Sometimes they can be the same. We just don't know. So with that, let's go ahead and bring up our Bath Spa University students. We're going to get them to read the scripts, and after that, we'll have a short break. We'll have a 20-minute interval. Congratulations to our 5 finalists on making it this far. I mean, this year's scripts were great, and you beat loads of other writers even to get here tonight. So that's a really fabulous step for you guys to have got to. And I'm going to just welcome Bath Spa University and our performers. I'll get out of your way in a second. And the first script that we will hear is Witches of Pool Bottom by Ava Bounds.
Hello everyone. So again, we are going to be reading the first script, The Witches of Pool Bottom, written by Ava Bounds. Scene 1. Over a vigil of rippling water, we hear a phone call.
Mum? Hey, Anna, I'm just parking. What? Hurry up! I'll only be a minute. I'm not going in there on my own. Don't be ridiculous. Take a deep breath and just go in. You'll make some friends. But, Mum...
The call ends. Cut 2. Scene 2, title card. Cut 2. Scene 3, interior, corridor, day. Anna, 16, slightly overweight, covered with acne, stands alone, shocked. She slowly switches off their phone and anxiously peeps through a window that looks onto the community pool. Anna shuffles along a corridor. Scene 4, interior, swimming pool room, day. Anna awkwardly enters the pool room. Every single person's head gradually turns to glare at her. Someone is playing mambo music on a speaker. It is distorted through Anna's ears. As she walks towards the pool, clutching a towel to cover her body, everybody's head follows her critically in silence. She lays her towel sheepishly on the side of the pool to reveal a red bikini. Anna stands hesitantly. Eventually, she jumps into the pool, but lands thunderously on the floor of the pool. She stands up and is bewildered when she realizes the pool is actually empty and has no water in it. She walks tentatively across the empty, dry pool floor and with echoing footsteps and a whistling wind. The beach ball rolls along the floor from behind her. Anna suddenly stops and cautiously turns around. Everybody has disappeared apart from 3 girls who stand opposite Anna. They are Anna's age and also wear red bikinis. One is covered in hair only on her legs, belly, and underarms. 2 is covered in acne. 3 is overweight. Anna is shocked and disgustedly observes them. She looks at 2's acne and strokes her own chin. 2 mirrors this gesture. They all smile innocently back. The penny drops.
You.
Anna picks up the inflatable ball from the dry floor. She looks at it and then throws it at 3's head. The ball bounces off her head, but she doesn't react. Anna smiles excitedly. Her mission begins. Anna declares war with the deafening howl. Anna runs up behind 3 and entraps her in a waist training corset. Anna hears a ripping, squelching sound as her hair sprouts on 1's legs. Zits grow redder on 2's face, and 3 looks down, grins as her stomach grows and the corset explodes behind her and fires Anna into the wall. Anna reaches behind her and whips out a monstrous assault weapon. She fills up the gun with Accutane tablets and bullets and fires them into 2's mouth. But 2 just stands there, still and calm as every bullet somehow flies past her. Anna gets increasingly frustrated as 2 starts to laugh. A tablet finally lands on 2's mouth, which makes her double over like a cat coughing up a hairball. Anna hears a ripping, squelching sound again as the pimples spread on 2's face. 3 becomes larger, and 1, who is enjoying the show, laces her fingers behind her head as the forest of black hair sprouts under her armpits. Anna, seeing this, grabs 2 cans of shaving cream and blasts 1. 1, intrigued, looks down at the floor to pick up the acne tablets while ignorantly dodging the cream, which hits 3 in the face. 2, now standing behind Anna, finally coughs up the tablet and it hits Anna in the back of the head. Anna yells and grabs her head. Anna then takes a tape measure out of her pocket and lassos 3 around her waist, yanking her to the floor. 3 gleefully yelps. Anna drags 3 towards her with a tape measure and 3 smiles, turns to terror as 1 becomes distressed. 1 closes her eyes and holds her breath. Anna hears a groan, the ripping sound again from behind her. Anna turns to face 1 who is now a giant, covered in hair from head to toe like Chewbacca, still wearing the bikini. 1 shrugs while Anna stands with mouth open in awe. Suddenly, out of her bikini top, Anna whips out a massive pair of hedge trimmers and starts chasing after 1 who is terrified. 3 timidly trips Anna up, and she face plants. Anna gets up and now chases 3, whipping her with a tape measure. Anna is starting to enjoy the pain as she is flicked, while 3 sweats profusely. 2 springs into action by popping a zit on her forehead, which splats into Anna's face, covering it in a blanket of pus. Anna staggers backwards, trying to wipe the pus off her face. 3 collapses onto the floor, exhausted and dangerously tangled in the tape measure. Anna, manically laughing, grabs a massive pump-action weed sprayer, fills it with a bucket of tea tree oil, and shoots a zit off of 2's face. But it pops up on another part of her face, like a whack-a-mole. Anna lobs the weed spray and grabs a humongous tube of acne cream and squirts it straight into the petrified face of 2. 2 screams. Anna turns to face 1 who is standing there frozen. She runs and grabs 1's hair and slams her down onto a giant waxing strip. 1 lays there, stuck and in agony. Anna stands exhausted, yet looking around at her defeated enemies with pride. The 3 witches are sniffling in pain. Anna hears an ethereal music and turns around to see that perfect Anna has appeared. Like the others, she is in a red bikini, but she looks like the perfect model of a young woman. She is pleased with Anna's conquest.
Good job, Anna. You finally made it. There's just one last step.
Anna nods and smiles with a hint of regret. Perfect Anna produces a colossal syringe with a label. Beautiful woman juice. She glides towards Anna as Anna stares at the syringe with a growing trepidation.
Now you can finally make some real friends.
Hearing this, Anna instinctively looks behind her at the 3 defeated witches. A victorious smile spreads across perfect Anna's face, and Anna stands frozen in fear. We hear a rumbling sound and both Annas freeze, look over their shoulders and see 2 in attack position.
Back off, bitch.
2 releases a projectile zip which flies into perfect Anna's throat, making her inflate until she explodes. Out of the blue, mambo music plays. Without thinking, Anna and the 3 witches start to dance in unison. Anna embraces the absurdity. The dance turns more triumphant as the witches dance in a circle around Anna and cheer her on. She closes her eyes, forgetting anyone is looking at her. The 4 dance, and one by one they disappear, integrating with Anna until she is on her own. Anna, with her arms up, spins around wildly in circles. She comes to a stop, feeling exhilarated, and her arms drop. Match cut 2. Scene 11, interior, swimming pool room, day. Anna, now standing on the ledge of the pool, clutching the towel again around her shoulders, looks over to the people sitting in their lounge chairs and lets the towel drop to the floor. She smiles. Her mum comes up behind Anna.
Hey, Anna. Mum, I found some friends.
Anna smiles as the mambo music starts. Cut to black.
The next script is Never Too Late by Georgia Day. Interior, nursing home, communal area, afternoon. The year is 1999, and we are in a nursing home in South Wales, a communal area which had been decorated with paper decorations for Valentine's Day. There's general hubbub and pensioners in various stages of alertness, are sat at a table all dressed up in their finest outfits. The atmosphere is jovial and there's laughter and a sense of anticipation. A nurse, middle-aged, mid-40s, and stout, a no-nonsense kind of woman stands up at the front of the room with a microphone and taps it to check if it works. Feedback squeals and everyone turns towards her, wincing.
Hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome to our annual Valentine's speed dating event.
There's various cheers and hurrahs. Our focus is on a man, Harold, 89, sat in the corner with a newspaper. He is incredibly grumpy and had forgotten this would be happening, but he's too stubborn to leave. He's approached by a nurse wearing pipe cleaner hearts on a headband. She's young, mid-20s, gentle and funny. She has a soft spot for grumpier clients, like Harold.
Are you not joining in today, Mr. Aves?
Joining in? I'll very well give you joining in. This ain't nothing but a load of old nonsense.
Oh, come on, Harold, it's just a bit of fun.
It's patronising, is what it is. It's patronising and noisy, and I will not be taking part of it.
Debbie has done a head count and is frowning up at the front of the room.
Just a minute, everyone. Before we get started, I'm not sure we've got the right number of people.
Various sounds of dismay comes from the assorted pensioners.
Not to worry. I'm sure one of our care assistants would be happy to fill in the gap. Jude?
Oh, it's not a problem. We've got Mr. Aves over here. You've got to count him.
Now you just wait a second, young lady.
Oh, brilliant, Harold. Thank you so much for volunteering.
Harold glares at Jude.
Oh, go on, just for a bit.
You're lucky you're my favourite. I wouldn't do this for anyone, you know.
Who knows? You might even find love.
If I ain't found love at 89 years, it's not likely to be found now.
He folds his newspaper and stands up. Giving a withering look to the young nurse, he begins walking over to the front of the room, leaning heavily on a stick.
So I'll play some nice romantic music and you get to know the person opposite you on the table. And then when your 5 minutes is up, you'll move on to the next person. Basically, it's like a game of musical chairs, except without the danger of untimely death.
Wouldn't be untimely, far for these buggers.
Mr. Aves, thank you so much for stepping in.
Harold glares at her in lieu of responding.
All right, then. Does everyone understand what we're doing?
Various nods and sounds of affirmation comes from the assorted pensioners. Harold sits opposite an old lady who isn't paying attention.
Right, let's get ready to find some love.
She fiddles about with stereo and, at length, Careless Whisper starts to play. We see Harold's incredibly dubious face. He raises an eyebrow in disbelief.
Right, let's find some love.
Scene 2, interior, nursing home, communal area, afternoon. While the saxophone solo of Careless Whisper plays, we have a montage of the first 10 minutes of the speed dating. People smiling at each other and exchanging toffees and Werther's Originals as a form of flirting. When we see Harold, he's politely nodding and smiling, clearly wanting to leave more than anything. One woman reaches over the table and squeezes his arm. To his relief, Debbie calls time. He gets up and slides into the next chair with a huff of relief before the music fades back into the background, and he looks up and to see the face of Charlie, 87, smiling back at him. Charlie is jovial, smiling, and a total hit with the ladies. He is absolutely in his element here.
Hello, old chap. How are we getting on?
I thought it was meant to be girls one side, boys the other.
Yeah, well, I wanted a spot beside the fire. Besides, none of our ladies would ever leave my table.
We cut to the side where several women are smiling and waving at him. Harold rolls his eyes and huffs.
And how do you deal with being so popular, eh?
Oh, you know, I get by. You don't usually get roped into these sorts of things, do you?
Absolutely not. Just my luck today that Jude asked.
And which of these lovely ladies have caught your eye then?
Harold has gotten distracted by Charlie's laughing, zoning back in just in time to wipe the dopey half-smile off his face and reassert his signature frown.
Ain't none of them caught my eye.
Oh, is that so? Mildred over there seems particularly taken with you.
Oh, Lord, give me strength.
Charlie laughs again and offers Harold a sweet.
Promise me that ain't laced with something.
What could I possibly laced it with?
Some newfangled love potion, I reckon.
A love potion? Harold, we both know I don't need a love potion to get a reliable date in this place.
Very well.
He takes a sweet and pop it in his mouth. Charlie smiles, also clearly a little bit enamoured with Harold.
You know, I was hoping not to see you today.
Oh, thanks very much. I'll bugger off then.
No, that's not what I mean. I mean, it's embarrassing on Valentine's Day with all these women pretending for a day to be in love with me.
Well, who are you in love with then?
Charlie looks briefly surprised before he realises Harold isn't actually expecting a serious answer from him.
Myself? I'm particularly partial to our good Queen Elizabeth of Windsor. I mean, just her hat collection alone. Exquisite. How about you?
I've never been in love with no one.
Oh, come on, old chap. That can't possibly be true. You never married?
Nope. No woman could put up with me.
Now that I can believe. But there must have been someone in your younger years.
Harold shakes his head, adamant.
Someone must have taken your fancy?
Well, even if someone had taken my fancy, I wouldn't be saying any bit of it to you.
Oh, go on. Who am I going to tell? My harem of Alzheimer'd old women?
Oh, don't. They're awful gossips. Why don't you tell me about you instead? You've had a wife once, haven't you?
Okay, I'll bite. You're right. I was married once, very long while ago.
Aha! Knew it.
Yes. I got married to a very handsome woman called Susie back in 1932. She was a handful, wore trousers even back then. Of course, I knew.
Knew what?
Oh, that she was a lesbian, of course.
A lesbian? Charlie! Not every woman who wears trousers is a lesbian.
He's shocked. Shocked at what Charlie has said and shocked by his own response. It's the first time he said the word lesbian and the first time he's heard it used in a way that's not a prelude to an insult.
Oh, but my Susie was. That's why I married her.
You what?
Yes, we were each other's beards. I think that's what they called it back then. Lavender dating.
I don't think I follow.
Let me put it plainly. I'm a homosexual, Harold.
Harold is completely taken aback, flustered and speechless. Charlie is enjoying watching him squirm.
Goodness me, you're blushing. It isn't taboo anymore, my old chap. My wife and I were both homosexuals, and it was the finest marriage I could have hoped for. Except for one with a nice, handsome man, of course.
What, you'd marry a man?
Harold is incredulous. Charlie frowns slightly.
Well, of course I would, if I could. Don't tell me I've read this all wrong and that you're actually a bigot rather than a recluse.
No. No, you haven't at all. I'm actually...
Harold gestures to himself desperately, trying to convey into words something he's kept buried deep inside him for so long.
You and I'm...
He's clearly struggling. He realizes his hands are shaking and he steadies them on a table. Charlie reaches over and gently places his hand on top of Harold's. Harold looks up at him, confused, desperate.
I know, old chap. I know. But, look, you can say it now. It's all right. It's all right.
Harold pauses, swallows, then quietly, fiercely.
I'm gay too.
Quite right. Well done. Good man. Good man.
Harold sits up straight and takes a deep breath. His shoulders loosen. He's just let go of a weight of a lifetime. He's free. He's finally told someone and the world hasn't fallen down around his ears. Not only that, it felt good. Like a release of pressure from somewhere deep inside him.
You know that actually felt quite good.
Liberating, isn't it? I stopped bothering to hide it a long time ago, and it was truly the best decision I ever made.
There's a beat before one of them looks down at their hands, still joined on the table. They both tense and blush, but neither of them move away.
So, now that we're on the same page, how would you like to come to dinner with me?
Dinner? With you? Where? In town?
Yes, with me, and yes. I thought Jude could drive us in and we could go to that new Italian place. You like Italian, don't you? Unless you can find a more handsome man here you'd rather go with.
But what about people?
Look at us. We're as old as anything. No one will pay us any mind. We're as good as invisible to all those younger folks. And besides, my kids are always telling me I need someone to love me properly in my old age.
But how did you know? How did you know?
I didn't. I just hoped and knew you'd never married. And, well, I just had a sense, that's all. And I fancy you a bit.
You knew I'd never. Jude! Jude set me up this, didn't she?
He looks so scandalized, and Charlie cracks up laughing. From the corner, Jude looks over and gives him a big thumbs up. Charlie grins his signature charming smile, and then winks.
My dear, a gentleman never tells.
Blackout.
Next is Red, written by Mo Hansch. Interior, bedroom, dusk. The bedroom belongs to a girl now grown, hairbrush, makeup, a jewellery box. A red dress is crumpled in the corner. A blanket fort, a childish construction, takes centre stage. The fort glows from inside. The natural evening light throws a fleeting shadow onto the white walls.
Once upon a time,
The shadow on the wall takes the shape of a man with wolf-like features. A tall tail creeps. It's a fleeting image.
Inside the fort, Nat, 19, sits cross-legged at the entrance. She plays with a wolf soft toy and a Red Riding Hood doll. We don't see her face yet.
And the wolf said nice things. What a pretty dress you have. What a nice hair you have. He danced with her and shared a drink.
The wolfman meets a dancing gnat. He offers her a drink and she takes it.
But when the big bad wolf was talking about teeth and whatnot, Red fell into a deep sleep. And when she woke, she couldn't remember anything.
The wolf morphs into a man. Nat falls unconscious. He catches her.
She asked the wolf what happened. Truth be told, he looked a bit sheepish. But the truth wasn't told, and that made Red mad. Red knew something evil had happened to her.
The man sexually assaults Nat and then takes a picture with his phone. It's fleeting but clear.
The wolf didn't care. He said if she told anyone, he would post pictures of Red. Bad pictures. Pictures he took of her.
Nat's face comes into view. Her face betrays how crushed she is.
When she was unconscious.
Beat. Nat throws the wolf toy out, and then she gives a voice to the doll.
I'm ashamed.
Nat advises her doll.
It's not your shame. Was it only once upon a time? For you. Not for him.
Nat's phone rings.
Hold on. Here, take this call.
Nat passes the doll a telephone, a tin can attached to a string. She answers her actual phone.
Hi, just give me a second.
Nat holds her hand over the phone and says to her doll,
I'll give you some privacy.
Nat gets up and leaves the fort. Her voice fades away as she exits into another room. We watch her leave, but stay with the doll and the tin can phone.
Hi, Emma. Sorry about that. Thanks for calling. No, this is genuine. I'm looking for other people who've been abused by...
As Nat's voice fades to nothing, we trace the telephone string into a fort to another doll listening to the end of her telephone. Lined up along the interior walls of the fort are lots of different dolls. There are a few Ken dolls too, all shapes, sizes, and colours. We withdraw from the fort. The wolf's soft toy is in a bin.
The man-wolf tries to sneak away, but they are confronted by dolls who morph into women. 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. And as he backs away, the man-wolf becomes just a man, and he gets smaller and smaller. Suddenly, Nat's back, and she's staring at the wall. She can see the shadow play. With a red lipstick, she crosses out the small man.
The shadow play disappears. There is just a red lipstick cross on the white wall. Nat stands next to the cross and makes the same sign with her fingers. End.
The next script is Worm, a full moon. A classroom window has a light on inside. Interior, classroom, night. A wall clock, 11:30. Chairs and tables. A whiteboard covered with a ridiculously complex equation. Alone, pacing, muttering, Daniel, 22. Troubled, fragile, shambolic. Troubled, fragile, shambolic. But astonishingly gifted, bolic. But astonishingly gifted. He alters an equation and sits at his laptop, taps a few keys, shakes his head. Through a window, the moon gazes inapplicably down at him. A noisy vacuum cleaner is switched on. Daniel tenses. A cleaner, Alice, 30s, drags the hoover over to the classroom, avoiding Daniel's accusing glare. Bold and breezy, she wears a glittery top, unsuitable heels, blue painted fingernails. Daniel tries to ignore Alice and her noise, concentrates on his laptop, fails dismally. Eventually...
Excuse me? Hello? Me? Hello? Hey.
Huh? What?
Could you leave the hoovering?
Can't hear you. Speak up.
Daniel goes over to her. They stare at one another, declared enemies. He presses the power button off. Blissful silence.
What a turn off.
I'm trying to concentrate.
So am I, sunshine, on my hoovering?
Well, I give you permission to leave it.
It's not up to you.
I'm sure your supervisor will understand.
She won't.
I'll write her a note. What's her name?
Godzilla.
Daniel blanks, completely wrong-footed.
Really?
Course not, you daft punk. I'm pulling at your pisser.
Daniel sighs, defeated. No match for Alice, and he knows it.
I could do my dusting first.
Yes. Please. That would help.
Daniel returns to his laptop, refocused. Alice produces a large pink fluffy duster, playfully dusts the chairs, the tables, the whiteboard. She steals a glance at Daniel working, gets bolder, closer, hums softly, performs a little dance, amuses herself.
Do you mind?
Alice mimes zipping her mouth up. She goes to spray the polish on Daniel's table, hesitates. Will it bother him? She takes a chance, sprays a little bit. Daniel looks up, irritated. She rubs the polish in, toying with him. Cat and mouse, sprays again. Daniel sighs, rubs his tired eyes, stares at his laptop screen. A second later, as if by magic, Alice's face pops up over his shoulder behind him.
Looks complicated.
How did you...
What's it about?
String theory.
You come to a posh university like this to study string.
Daniel on the edge. Beads of sweat, red eyes, hands shaking.
Isn't it past your bedtime?
No such thing as time, just space-time. I work better at night.
I'm an early bird. At my best first thing in the morning, ask my boyfriend. You look a bit peaky.
Yeah, I haven't slept for 3 days, struggling with my dissertation. Yeah.
Dissertation, eh? Fancy pants. Is that what the squiggles are all about?
The equation on the whiteboard blurs in and out of focus.
Mathematics is the language with which God wrote out the universe.
Should have written it in plain English so as normal people could understand it. It just looks like gobbledygook. Gobbledygook for gobbledygeeks.
I'm not a gobbledygook. I'm not a geek.
She regards him with pity.
You so are.
I'm a cosmologist.
And I'm a Gemini. Two-faced.
Who is?
I am.
Daniel closes his eyes momentarily. When he opens them, Alice is back where she was before, way across the room.
Me too.
Daniel does a double take, stares at her, bamboozled.
Quantum entanglement. A pair of objects at a distance but measured simultaneously.
Who are you calling an object? So, do you want a hand with that?
How could you possibly help?
She gives a little squirt from her can. The spray travels across the room, hangs in the air like a morning mist.
Magic fairy dust, tried and trusted.
I prefer facts.
Alice yawns, boring.
Please. In Big Bang nucleosynthesis on superstring abstracts in early universe thermodynamics.
Alice's eyes glaze over.
Flaming heck.
I think I found something very special. But I could be the laughingstock of the department.
So what? Not the end of the world?
But not the way to get a first.
That's what you want then?
I don't know what I want.
Take my advice. Finish your paper and hand it in on time. That way at least you have a chance. Go down fighting. Are you a man or a mouse?
Mouse, I think.
You're not the usual studenty type, and I see loads of them flapping around town in their gowns like bleeding vampires.
I was the first kid in my school to get here. If I fail, I'm letting down all the other kids who never got a chance to come somewhere like this.
You're responsible for yourself, nobody else, and don't forget it.
Dad cried when I got the acceptance letter. Real tears.
Sure he did, cranking up the pressure. No wonder you're such a mess.
Do you know what happens when a sun dies?
Somebody's son.
A star in space.
He points up at one of the harsh ceiling lights. It shimmers like a star. Alice squints at it.
First, it expands into a giant. Then it runs out of energy.
I know the feeling.
And finally collapses in on itself.
Is that what happened to you?
I had to take a year out from here.
Just a wild guess. That wasn't for a stand-up comedy tour? Circus clown training?
I had to get my head straight. I don't fit in. I never have.
Who wants to fit in?
I do.
Nah, trust me. It's overrated. But being yourself, that's quite something.
Hold the pep talk. I've heard it all before. I'm an oddball. Always will be.
Then stop filling your head up with...
Gobbledygook.
You said it. Get down to some basics. Do you know how to boil an egg?
Why, are you hungry?
She gives him a hopeless look.
In a pan with water?
Like a magician, she produces an egg from thin air, throws it to him as it arcs through the air in slow motion.
One action, an infinite number of possible outcomes.
He fumbles to the catch. The egg smashes messily on his table. Alice smiles. shows him the intact egg safely back in her hand. The egg mess on the table miraculously vanishes.
How did you do that?
Can you make a bed?
Suppose I could, in theory.
In theory, you need to get out of your head and into the real world. Then you'll feel like you're in control of things and yourself. Get practical and be done with all this cosmic nonsense. You need to build some resilience, or you'll be battered around your whole life. Grow some rhino skin, you hear me?
Why are you telling me all of this?
Because small things matter.
Daniel laughs, a proper belly laugh.
What's so funny, Einstein?
Look, I studied quantum mechanics. The smallest things in existence, electrons, muons, bosons, quarks, all with their own weird properties and bizarre and unpredictable behaviors.
Trust me, you chose the right subject.
As soon as you start looking for them, they're not there anymore.
Just like decent blokes.
You're not a regular cleaner, are you?
She gives him a shy, sly smirk, flutters her eyebrows.
You're not hitting on me by any chance.
No, of course not.
I gotta go. You feeling any better?
Yeah, a bit. Thanks.
She collects her things together, duster, polish spray.
Listen, finish your string theory and get it handed in. Promise?
I'll try.
And you really need a snappier title. What's it really about?
I guess it's about wormholes.
We're not talking about rotten old floorboards here, are we?
No, a wormhole is a connection between two distant places in space.
She moves closer to him. Her voice softens.
A connection. Hey, I like that.
Two separate universes. They may be light years apart, yet still
connect.
A moment between them.
Will I see you again? Tomorrow, maybe?
Sorry, this was a special guest appearance for one night only.
If you say so.
You stay cool. Don't blow it. Right, I'm gone.
Were you ever really here?
Her eyes tease his.
You decide.
Daniel rubs his eyes. When he looks up again, Alice has vanished. He blinks in disbelief. Manages a smile. He notices Alice's Hoover, still there. Goes cautiously over to it. Is it real? He reaches slowly out to the power button. As he presses it, cut to black.
The last play we'll be reading for is Call It Out by Sarah Leigh. Exterior, suburban street, day. A woman, Violet, walks down a tree-lined street. The sun shines and birdsong fills the air. A postman passes her by and nods. She nods back and looks down. She has earbuds in and hums to the music as she walks. Everything's seemingly idyllic. A man, 50s, wearing a business suit, walks towards Violet. He stops as she comes close to him.
Excuse me, do you have the time?
Violet pauses and removes an earbud. Sorry? A small smile emerges across Man One's face.
I asked if you had the time.
Violet pulls her phone out of her handbag.
Sure, it's 10:15.
Man One doesn't move. He stares hard at Violet with a creepy smile. Violet looks away, uncomfortable, and starts to walk on.
Hey, I didn't mean that.
Violet stops and turns to the man.
Look, I'm in a rush, okay?
Man One takes a step towards her. She starts to rub her thumb back and forth nervously across a small pebble in the palm of her hand. Man One leans in. Violet steps back.
I asked if you had the time because if you do, I have the money, if you know what I mean.
Violet's hands start to shake. She's visibly uncomfortable. She stands tall, closes her eyes, and chants under her breath. A breeze picks up and fallen leaves swirl around the pavement. The sun disappears behind clouds. The pebble falls from her hand to the floor. The man moves back. His coat and bag drop to the floor and his body slumps slightly. He begins to regain his composure and we see that he's now a royal blue colour. He looks at his hands and yelps.
What have you done, you crazy bitch?
He quickly gathers up his belongings from the floor and runs off into the distance. Violet lets out a deep breath and bends to pick up her pebble. It has a small chip in it. She dusts it off with her hand and puts it back in her pocket. She stands, looks at the camera and smiles with relief. She walks on. Exterior bus stop day. Violet sits at the bus stop and taps her foot on the ground to the beat of the music. She pulls out her bank card from her purse. As she does, it falls to the floor. Violet bends down to pick it up. As she stands, she notices two denim-clad legs right in front of her face. She looks up. Man, 30s, looks down at her, hands on his hips.
While you're down there, love.
Violet puts her hand into her pocket and retrieves her pebble. She takes a deep breath and tries to remain calm as she thumbs the smooth brown stone, her energy levels lower than before.
Excuse me?
I'm just joking with you, love. Chill out.
Violet feels her hands start to shake again. She clasps them into fists and closes her eyes once again. She begins to chant indecipherably under her breath. The breeze picks up around her once again and the pebble drops to the floor. Man 2 jumps back slightly. Violet opens her eyes. Revealed to see Man 2 is a lighter shade of blue.
What the fuck? Like I'd go for you anyway, you ugly bitch.
He storms off. The bus nears. Violet picks up her pebble from the floor. It has a bigger chip in it. She frowns and puts it back into her pocket. She signals with her arm for the bus to stop. Interior bus day. Violet taps her card and pays for her fare. She walks down the aisle of the bus to find a seat. Most of the men on the bus are varying shades of blue. Women sit next to one another with hoods up, sunglasses on. One man isn't blue and a woman sits next to him. Violet sits and fastens her coat. She shifts uncomfortably in her seat, turns her music up and looks down. Exterior, side street day. Violet disembarks from the bus. She lets out a deep breath. A man, blue in colour, and pushing his daughter in a buggy, looks her up and down as he passes. Violet continues warily down the street as she approaches a building site. Two workmen, 20s, stop their work and start to whistle. They blow kisses and call to her.
Give us a smile, love. Yeah, it's too hot not to be showing some skin. Take your coat off for us. Let us have a look.
They laugh to each other. A woman rushes past. She pulls her jacket collar tightly around her neck and glances towards Violet as she passes. Violet can feel her hands start to shake again. She thumbs her pebble in her pocket. She closes her eyes as a breeze begins to pick up. The workmen both take a step back. Woman 2 runs into Violet and shoves her to the floor. The breeze stops. Violet lands awkwardly. One earbud falls out. She hurriedly puts it back in her ear.
What are you doing?
The workmen laugh and carry on with their work. Woman 2 holds out her hand to Violet. Violet wipes her hands across her jeans and stands by herself.
Are you okay?
Violet tilts her head to the side.
Yeah, no thanks to you.
I was protecting you.
The woman cautiously looks around.
Save your energy for when you really need it.
So I'm supposed to just stay quiet and let it happen?
It's sometimes safer that way.
Woman 2 leans in to comfort her. Violet pulls back. Woman 2 nods at Violet and walks away. She glances back, then looks to the floor and carries on. Violet shakes her head and lets out a deep breath. Interior shop day. Violet carries a shopping basket that contains a microwave meal, some fruit juice and grapes. She walks down an aisle and picks up a packet of popcorn. Men of varying shades of blue walk around the shop. Amongst the group, we see various uniformed men, including a police officer, a judge in a gown and full-bottomed wig, and men in various attire from sports clothes to business suits. Some look towards her. Violet looks away. The number of men increases. The women in the shop edge away. We hear voices whisper. The men move closer in towards Violet. The whispers overlap and gradually get louder and louder. Violet puts her hand into her pocket for her pebble.
All right, love.
Sexy.
Can you help me with this, love?
Eating alone?
You're too pretty to be single.
Smile.
Oh, put your
got
digits
something
in
there.
there.
We didn't mean it, love.
Stop it! Violet jolts back. She closes her eyes. The shopping basket and pebble drop to the floor. She blinks her eyes open. The men have moved back. All of the customers in the shop turn sharply, in sync, towards Violet. Nobody says a word. Violet's body noticeably shakes. She looks to the basket on the floor. She bends to retrieve her pebble. It has split in two. A man bends to pick up the basket. Violet clenches her hands. The woman's word, safer, echoes through her mind. Violet runs towards the exit.
I just wanted to help.
Through the doorway, we watch as Violet runs towards the road. Exterior, street, day. Violet crosses the road and walks quickly down the street, desperate to get home. A car pulls up next to her. The window rolls down. Violet tries to quicken her pace but struggles to. The car moves with her. As she approaches a junction, the car pulls in front of her, stops, and blocks her from crossing the road. Violet grasps the remaining half of Pebble in her hand. She squints her eyes as man, 30s, climbs out of the car and walks towards her. She tries to close her eyes and focus on her breath to chant breathlessly. The man is tinged blue, barely noticeable. He laughs.
That's why I wait till later to come out.
He steps in front of Violet and strokes her hair softly. Violet is still frozen still. He leans in closer and forcefully grabs her by the hair.
I think you should come with me.
He nods towards the car. Violet is unable to move or make any vocalization. Her handbag and Pebble drop to the floor. Exterior, street, day. The car pulls away. The contents of Violet's handbag spill across the pavement. The car comes to a sudden stop. The security alarm blares. The hazard lights flicker. The 4 doors fly open. We track round to the side of the car. We see man 6, now a distinct deep blue colour, slumped over the steering wheel. Violet crawls out of the car slowly and brushes her clothes down. She stands and walks towards her handbag, her body heavy as she moves. She bends to her bag, slowly puts her earbuds in, and turns her music back on. She stands and reaches into her pocket. Flashback, exterior, side day, street. Woman 2 puts something into Violet's pocket. End flashback. Exterior, street, day. Violet pulls a whole pebble from her pocket. She holds it tightly. She looks up to the camera, tearful and exhausted. She slowly walks home. Fade out.
Well done. Thank you so much to our Bath Spa University actors. Right, so I think the audience voting slips are actually going to come around. If they're not already on your tables, don't worry, they will be coming around with Film Bath volunteers. You've also got the details of all the scripts that were read, but just to remind you, Witches of Pool Bottom by Ava Bounds, Terror of Body Image at the Pool. That was a brilliant script. Thank you, Ava. Never Too Late by Georgia Day, coming out at 89. What a brilliant script. Read by Mo Hansch, which is, I mean, gosh, a child's fairy tale kind of morphing into an adult nightmare. Wormholes by Jonathan Skinner, Space-Time Flirtation. I don't know, that's my notes on it. Not that I'm judging it. And of course, Call It Out by Sarah Leigh, really chilling. Thank you so much. So thank you to our actors as well as their director, Carrie Irvin. We are going to take a 20-minute break now, roughly. So please do pop your audience votes onto those slips of paper and make sure you just hand it back to one of the Film Bath volunteers. I'm going to lead our judges backstage now so that they can talk. And when we come back, we'll bring our finalists up on stage. We'll have a chat to them before we hear tonight's winner and the audience award decision. And we hand out that fantastic prize of £7,000 and £1,000 worth of kit hire. Thank you very much, and we'll see you back here in about 20 minutes. Thanks, everyone.
Would you just like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the script that you wrote tonight?
Yes, so hello, I'm Ava Bounds. My script was The Witches of Pool Bottom. Briefly, it's about a teenage girl and she's fighting her personified insecurities, and it's kind of the moral of the story is to not laugh at it but embrace it, because sometimes there's parts of yourself we don't like but we can't do anything but accept that, and so it's about acceptance. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And it's a really important story to tell, I thought, especially because a lot of like teenage girls struggle with insecurities, and I like the sort of like mystical element you brought into it. Can you talk a little bit about what inspired you to do it in that sort of theme?
Yeah. I don't know, I thought doing it a classic, a normal way, one, it's not really what I do, and I think just doing it in a realistic way wouldn't suit kind of my approach to the subject matter in the way that we should kind of laugh at it and embrace it. I think it just suited it to make it fun, make it playful, make it kind of like a wacky kids film, because sometimes you kind of have to laugh at it like a kid, because back then when we were kids everything was easier and we weren't thinking so much. So I think, I don't know, just kind of going with it and whatever comes along, accepting it, that kind of fitted into the style as well, if that makes sense.
Definitely, and it worked really well, I just want to say. And do you just want to tell us a little bit about anything else you're working on, if you're happy to share? Yeah?
Well, I am currently writing my first debut feature film based on a film that I did last year. Again, pretty crazy. It's kind of based on a train. It's all about life going very fast. But yeah, it's absurdist, it's weird and wacky, just like The Witches of Pool Bottom. So hopefully you'll be seeing that soon, maybe.
Oh, perfect. Well, I wish you all the best, and thank you for talking to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you just like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the script that you brought here tonight?
Hi, so I'm Georgia. I write on the side of my real job, and the script that I brought tonight is about two men that find love later in life. They're in a care home, and it's kind of a comedy, but it's got some real heart to it, and yeah.
And I really like the fact that we're set in a care home. I feel like you don't really see a lot of humour in like a setting like that. Can you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to choose that?
I guess just that like people don't stop being funny when they're old, but you just see it less. And I think it's a similar motivation for me. Like people don't stop being gay when they're old, you just see it less. And so I really wanted to write a story, the kind of story that you don't see very often. You don't often see old people falling in love. You don't often see old gay people. And you don't often see really stuff in care homes unless it's like a panorama documentary. So that's kind of the motivation behind writing it. Yeah.
And if you want to share, could you tell us a little bit about anything else that you're working on right now that you want to let us know about?
Sure. I'm currently making a micro short with a local art centre. I live in Cardiff. And I have also written and directed a piece called Fruits of the Spirit, which is about growing up gay in a religious context. And so I made that with a charity that's an LGBT church. And so if you're interested in seeing that film and using it as like training for churches, we've developed a training pack to go alongside it. So if that's of interest, please look up The Gathering Cardiff and get in touch, and we'll bring you a film and some training.
Perfect. Thank you for letting us know, and I wish you all the best for tonight. Thank you
very much.
so much for talking to us. would you just like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the script that you brought here tonight?
So my name's Sarah Leigh, I'm a writer-director, and my script is called Call It Out, and it's a witchy sci-fi drama about street harassment with an autistic lead.
I really liked your script tonight. I thought it was amazing. The sort of metaphor of the men turning blue was really interesting to me. Do you think you could talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's a way to kind of show the levels of the crime. I think I wanted to show it in a real visual, distinctive way. So them turning blue, like the deeper shade of blue that they are, the worse crime they've committed. But there's also stuff around, there's some groups that use blue as a colour, like autism groups that are trying to eradicate autism, which is awful. So it's kind of, to me, they're predators. So it was a way to show that within the film as well. But I think most people wouldn't get that unless they were autistic and understood that. But yeah, so there were a few things around the blue, but it was a way to show and alert other women to potential predators on the streets.
And the fact that the main character was autistic, could you speak a little bit about that and that perspective in the film?
Yeah, so I'm very passionate about authentic representation of disability, and so if it's about autism, then it should be an autistic actor that plays that role. But this one, what I'm equally passionate about is where it's incidental to the plot and we're just represented anyway, so it's not necessarily that people are going to watch it and think, oh, she was autistic, but I've put like subtle things in. So she wears headphones, she stims with a pebble, that's part of her, which is what I do. So it's, you know, that authenticity coming through there.
And I thought it worked really well. And if you would like to, could you tell us a little bit about anything else you're working on or have worked on that you'd like to share?
Sure, I have a feature that was in a lab recently, so I'm working on my first feature script and just trying to focus on writing as much as I can at the moment.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you so much for talking to us tonight, and I wish you all the best for tonight. Yeah, thanks. Perfect. That you brought here tonight?
Sure. My name's Jonathan Skinner, and I wrote the script called WORMHOLES. It's about a young man who is very gifted, and he's got himself into a top university, but he's struggling. And I think a lot of us have struggled one way or another over the few years. So I wanted to write a little bit about resilience, but try not to make it preachy or too heavy, so I thought a little bit of humour would lighten things up a little bit.
And in your script you have the character of the cleaner, who I loved, absolutely so funny. Could you talk a little bit about your inspiration in creating someone like that? And what you feel she brought
Well,
to it?
Alice the cleaner, I didn't realise this until, I really didn't realise this until a few days ago, but my late parents had to have a cleaner 1 hour a week when they couldn't cope anymore, and she wasn't from another universe like Alice in the script, because she lived just around the corner. So, but she was a little bit the same, and she used to come in. I'd be sitting there with my laptop, and she would come in with all her sprays and potions and squirt them everywhere, and she'd put her Hoover on, and the cat would jump up in the air, and it was like a hurricane coming into the flat. So I think that was the inspiration. I would just sit there thinking, when is this going to end? And it was quite funny. So she was the inspiration without realising it.
It's lovely. It worked really well throughout the thing. And if you'd like to tell us, are you working on anything else, or have you got any other project that you'd like to let us know about?
Yeah, well, I try and have a few things on the go. So yes, there is a short film I'm actually working actively on with a Christmas theme, which is going to be very different from every other Christmas film, I hope. And I like to keep a few projects just going so that when one gets difficult, I can just move on and cheat and go on to another one and leave it for a while. So yes, yeah.
Well, I hope to see more in the future. I really enjoyed this one, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Your patience. Before we go back to our judges, they've been feverishly debating backstage, and of course they're going to tell us what they think in a few minutes. But before we do that, I want to get our finalists up on stage. Come on, guys, why don't you come up here? Come on up. So let me just introduce them. We've got Ava right there on the end. Ava wrote Witches of Pool Bottom. We've got Georgia Day, who wrote Never Too Late. Jonathan Skinner. Yes, that's you. Who wrote Wormholes. And Sarah Leigh, who wrote Call It Out. So welcome, thank you so much. And well done, you guys, for getting this far. I just wonder, has everyone here written scripts before? Is this a new endeavor, or are you seasoned writers? What would you say?
Half seasoned.
Half seasoned.
Yeah. This isn't the first script that I've written. I've written a few before.
Yeah.
But yeah, it always feels like the first one. You start with a blank page.
Yeah.
And
is it everyone's day job, or do you do other things during the day?
Other things.
Other things, like what do you, tell us what you do.
No, you go.
I do digital communications, which is just a fancy way of saying social media for charity.
I've just left school, so I'm trying to figure out what to do with my life.
Brilliant. Good moment. Okay. Yep. If we just pass it down, Sarah, what about you?
I have a production company, Inclusivity Films, where at least 50% of cast and crew identify as deaf, disabled, or neurodivergent on each film we do, and do a lot of access consultancy.
Interesting. So tell me about Call It Out. What inspired that, and you know what is the message, or what was the thing that made you want to write it?
Just getting sick of being catcalled on the street, to be honest. There was, you know, it just can feel like it's relentless at times. As an autistic woman, I even was told by people and could feel myself that, oh, I'm not recognizing these social cues. Maybe, you know, this stuff isn't, maybe it's me, and I just wanted to do something that wasn't feeding into that victim-blaming narrative, but that was giving a woman some power to regain, like some control over what had happened. But yeah, there was a nasty incident on my street, and I just didn't feel safe to go home, and I thought I need to write about this. So.
Well, thank you. Jonathan, tell me what inspired Wormholes. I mean, I don't, every time I read about quantum physics, my brain wants to explode.
Yes.
But you used it as beautifully as a backdrop. What inspired the story?
You're not alone. There's a saying amongst scientists, if you think you understand quantum mechanics, you don't. And they're the experts.
Right.
It's horrible. I started getting interested in it, and it will destroy your brain. It's absolutely awful. So there was partly that. My late parents had to have a cleaner for an hour a week, and she was completely mad, and she would come in and start spraying things, and I'd be sitting there with my laptop, and she'd put the Hoover on, and the cat would jump up and land on my head, and then she would start dancing with the Hoover, like singing Rod Stewart songs.
Okay.
And I didn't realize, but that was the inspiration for Alice. And then I thought it would be very interesting to write a script where the viewer or the audience wouldn't really know whether it was real or whether it was in the guy's mind. And it's the guy is struggling with his mental resilience, and I think that's something that we've all had to do over the last 4 or 5 years.
Indeed. Yeah.
So,
yeah. And what is your day job, if you don't mind me asking? What do you do?
I write plays.
You write plays. Okay, so
Yeah.
you're a writer. Okay, no, interesting. I wasn't sure if you were a physicist.
I've come late to film, and I'm loving it.
Okay, wonderful. Georgia, what inspired the setting and then the story for your script? Because it's really atmospheric and it's really, really sweet. But what made you want to write those two characters?
What made me want to write was kind of thinking about kind of queer stories that we don't see very often. And, you know, we don't see a lot of old people in film, and we don't see them get to be funny and fall in love and all these things. And we don't often see a lot of them be gay, but people don't stop being gay when they're older. And I thought that it was an interesting premise to have sort of a love story in an unexpected place.
Yeah, thank you. Ava, yours was so visual. I mean, I think everybody can relate to that kind of teenage angst of fighting your own demons, and it was a brilliant kind of place to have it in. But, I mean, you are clearly a lovely, beautiful young person. So what was it about, what was it about that kind of teenage angst that made you want to write that script?
Oh, well, thank you. But yeah, even though on the surface I might put that energy out there, it's weird that I'm still deep down going through stuff all the time. And that's what we don't assume about people. But what inspired it is really randomly, I went to the gym because, keeping the gains. And I was in the changing room and I was just seeing all these women getting changed, and they were just so confident with their bodies, and they're all different sizes, and they were just beautiful in their own way. And I wanted to create a film that kind of showcases kind of my insecurities, but instead of, I want it to be uplifting. I want it to laugh at it and accept it, and it to be fun and playful, because I think we lose that when we grow up. That's when our insecurities and being self-conscious starts to happen, is when we go through this teenage phase.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring back that childlike mindset in a weird setting and just make it fun. And I don't know, go away feeling uplifted. So, like, maybe helping people slowly deal with those issues and accepting them. So yeah, that was it.
Have you made a film before?
Yes. I did come for the IMDb New Filmmaker Awards a couple of years ago.
Fantastic.
It's been a hot minute, but yeah, this is definitely my weirdest one, but hopefully they keep getting weirder.
Okay,
so.
and anyone else here? I mean, Sarah, you have a sort of production company, but has everyone already made a film, or would this be like an absolute first for anyone? No?
I've made a short film with a community group, an LGBT community group, and we made it with Iris Prize Film Festival. They're a very sort of popular film festival, and as part of their community outreach program, they pick community groups that are local to Cardiff, and we make a film with them. So we made a narrative short about two women on the worship band of like an evangelical church, and they're in love with each other, and how that goes. The spoiler is not great, but we wanted to have like a really sort of hopeful ending to showcase that like there is still like love and acceptance and community even in religious spaces if you know where to find it. So that is the film that I've made. I'm currently in the process of making a micro short with Chapter Art Centre as another local Cardiff place. So yeah,
Brilliant.
that's my sort of filmmaking experience.
But so for all of you, a £7,000 prize is probably quite a good result from tonight, if it happens, yeah?
Oh yeah, it'd be massive.
Yeah. Good. Just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah.
Right. I want to thank you all for coming tonight and for going through this process and for sharing these lovely scripts with us. I'm going to put you out of your misery now and let you go back to your seats, have a drink, and sit down and settle in. And you guys go ahead, and I'm going to invite, let's give them a big round of applause. Well-deserved round of applause. Right, I'm going to ask our judges to come on up gently, back up to the stage. I assume you've made a decision? Yes? Okay, good. Come on up. Take your seats. So, we're going to keep you in suspense just a little bit longer, because before we announce both the winner and the audience award, I'm going to hand it over to Cole, because, as I say, the judges have been talking about all of these scripts. So would you please share with us what your thoughts are before we tell all?
So these are our thoughts in the order that they were performed. So don't read anything into this, and we'll see how good a poker player one of us is. So I'm gonna start by talking about Witches of Pool Bottom, and these are our kind of collective thoughts, kind of summarised for each of us. So we thought this was a prescient comment on body image. Well done, Ava, there. strong themes, it was imaginative, it was saying things passionately, and it was, at the end of the day, an amusing physical comedy. And well done, Ava, again, and great to see you here again. Next, Paul.
Which one?
Never Too Late.
Sorry. Okay, so yeah, Never Too Late. We thought it had really good characterization and that the dialogue felt that it was belonging to the individual characters. Nice, clean structure. It was clear and concise. The tone was very consistent and kind of belonging to character and the dialogue that was written on the page. God, I can't read my own handwriting now. Okay, yeah, so the ending, the full stop at the end felt like it was delivering a nice open future for the audience to kind of be left in that moment, which we thought was strong as well.
Yep. And Lauren?
So I'll talk about Red. We found the film rich in visual metaphor and symbolism, cleverly linked to a recognizable fairy tale for the audience. And ultimately, it was a very creative take on trauma with a lot of opportunity for creativity with different mediums, sound design, and a great role for an actor, actress as well.
Perfect. Paul? Wormholes.
Okay, so Wormholes, we thought it was a great two-hander, and the fast-paced dialogue really helped to kind of amp up the pace and the tone of the film throughout. We felt that it was thematically layered, which was nice. At no point did it get heavy-handed. One of the judges thought it was really nice to see the kind of fairy godmother concept in a different setting, being at university, which also helped kind of fuel a good sense of place. And we felt like the invite into the deeper thematic conversation felt very natural, which is very difficult to get right. And one of the judges also really loved the line, "Get out of your head and into the real world," which summed up the themes really well.
Perfect. And then Nadia.
Yeah, so we thought Call It Out was really strong. The visual metaphors could be really creative, create a really beautiful film that is really powerful and strong and very stylized, but deliberately so. I like the fact that it breaks the fourth law. I know we didn't talk about that, but that's another thing that happens in that's great. It's a really interesting comment on sexist and intimidating acts towards women and using the metaphor of the pebble in the sense that it gets ground down and broken throughout the day, with lots of clever twists and turns and devices, such as the man who comes out late because that's when the women are beaten down, which is very sinister and dark, but actually really well handled. So we thought it was really strong and very powerful, so well done.
Right, so have you got the badge ready?
I have, but are we doing the audience first?
We're going to do the audience vote first. So just to remind you, our 5 contenders: Witches of Pool Bottom by Ava Bounds, Never Too Late by Georgia Day, Red by Mo Hansch, Wormholes by Jonathan Skinner, and Call It Out by Sarah Leigh. And before we announce the overall winner, who also gets this, the audience award by a landslide, and I will get both winners to come up at the same time, so just pause for a moment. But the audience award by a landslide was Never Too Late by Georgia Day. Congratulations, Georgia.
Now, the jury and the audience do not always agree. And he said, waiting for a pause here. Okay. And they did not agree this time either. The jury award and the £7,000 and the badge and the £1,000 of kit goes to Jonathan Skinner for Wormholes.
Oh, come on up, guys. Come on up. Come on up. Paul, I'll let you do this. Jonathan. Come on up. Congratulations. Congratulations, Georgia. Congratulations. Guys, a round of applause for our bath spa actors, please. And for our judges. But before I let everybody go, hang on, sorry. Reactions, guys? How do you feel?
Yeah, pretty great.
Good. Thanks. Yeah. And Jonathan?
Well, just absolutely amazed and astonished. Thank you very much, IMDb, Cole, the judges, everyone involved in the event, Film Bath. It's a fantastic festival.
Do you think you can get your parents' cleaner to come and be in it?
I think I might. This might persuade her, and if that doesn't, the IMDb badge, which is... I never got a Blue Peter badge, but this is much better. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, and I also just quickly wanted to thank our judges for giving up their time. Cole Needham, Lauren Baker, Nadia Atia, and Paul Holbrook as well. Thank you so much, and thank you guys for coming. Well done. Well done, guys. I'll take that from you. You want to come down and take some pictures? Congratulations. Well done, Jonathan. That's good. Come on down. Thank you. Right, guys, you can come down and have photos too. Come and chat to the audience. Come on down. Thank you, everyone. That's it from us. I'm just gonna invite Jasmine from Film Bath to come back up here, just to say a few last words. But thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I just wanted to say another really big thank you for you all coming out tonight, and a special thank you as well to the Bath Bar acting students who did such a fantastic job of performing the scripts. Can we give them another round of applause, please? And congratulations to all our finalists as well, as obviously our winners as well. You've done such a great job. Please keep it up and keep the filmmaking. And thanks once again to Cole and IMDb for making these awards happen. Have a great festival, have a great evening, and enjoy the rest of the festival. Thank you.